Welcome back to Redbeard RPG and Pillars of Eternity. We're
Course.
heading on in to this restricted area in the Abbey of the Fallen Moon. We're going to see what they got hiding up here. Let's check the map. It's not a very big area. It can't be much, right? Examine the skull. Our next thing to do. Let's get a better look at that.
Incredible. A titan right out of the stories. Oh, let's look inside.
We got a couple paths to go on, it looks like. Where does that take us? Doesn't say. That one doesn't really say either. Says examine the skull. Oh, there's a chest back there. Don't mind if I do. Exceptional scale armor. Strange crystal formations, intact if their collision of thick bones, a giant skull. Seems to radiate warmth of their own. Ah, I see. This is what I'm supposed to do. Lodged between rows of crystalline rock, a large fragment of metal protrudes as though it might be possible to pry. Let's pull out the metal fragment. As you touch a splinter of metal, begins to glow orange. Heat surges up through your hands and arms and envelops you with such an intensity you feel as though you're melting down. The heat spreads to the world around you. It turns orange, then yellow, then white. The ground, the sky, everything around you drips in molten globs and begins to take shape beneath you as if an invisible mold. You and the shard are the last thing to melt and fall, in addition to the molten pool. And your addition to the molten pool completes the shape of an immense hammer. The metal cools quickly as it heated. The handle gripped now by two great leathery hands, and the hammer cocked back over the shoulder as broad and molten as hilltop. The wielder whirls around and heaves the hammer. You're flying upward for what seems like ages into the airless blackness above. You spin, catch a glimpse of a rock large enough to be a moon. It's close, far too close to the world. The force of the impact shatters the hammer and stone alike, and the rock is redirected outward, but a section of the front face is cleaved off and begins to fall, splintering apart the cracks. In 100,000 fragments blossoming outward in all directions, debris showers the atmosphere, trailing smoke and fire. Below, a land and sea are far off, but gradually rising up. Let's look at the sea. Largest of the fragments, wide as a city, barrels downwards in a fiery cocoon. Its size reduces as the edges immolate, but it won't burn up in time. It lands silently in the distant ocean, setting a column of water skyward, radiating ripples that spread like wrinkles in fabric. Then the sound comes tearing up through the sky. It sounds like thunder. Looking at the land, features are becoming clearer by the moment as you streak toward the earth. You're lodged in an enormous boulder, falling among other smaller fragments that heat and burst around you on all sides. Beneath you, snow-capped mountains rise up, dotted here and there by cities of stone and Eder. The impact will be the destruction of all of them. The shadow of your rock fragment is visible now, getting larger by the second. You're moments away from striking the ground when a massive shape throws itself into your path. The last thing you hear sounds like another rumbling impact, but that wasn't what it is. It's a chuckle. Reveled, breathless, you hear two words: made it. Everything goes dark. You open your eyes. The metal hammer fragment has come free, and you now hold it in your hands. It's warm to the touch. The air around you is suddenly turbulent, spiteful. A cold, damp wind whisks your face. Salt crystals collect in your nostrils and the creases of your eyes. The floor below you becomes blue-gray and glassy, churning and rolling. And when you fall, you crash through the water. Violent waves hurl and spin around you. Something slithers around your ankles, seizes you with incredible strength, and drags you into its silty depths.
This is very good.
Is it, Zawa? When pulling the stops, you are hovering at the center of an endless blue abyss. You can neither surface nor floor. You seem to be facing downward, but there's no way to be sure. A voice sounds from everywhere at once, and the immense pressure wave of each utterance sends you reeling.
Deceitful wretch! Grave robber! You who dig for that which you did not bury, speak! Explain yourself and be judged.
I seek a means of defeating an army that threatens my lands.
You seek what is mine, what was rightfully lost.
Okay.
Your actions speak for themselves. The battery opened, the forge ignited.
Is that a bad thing?
You set free souls that hid from me, that stole from me and evaded my judgment.
Ah, I see. That was my decision at the end of White March 1.
The dwarves sealed their own fate. The forge was meant to be forgotten.
Well, he didn't do a good job of making sure of that.
And now, here you are again, denying peace to the buried.
Yeah, I guess kinda. The turbulence around you calms, silt settles like slow exhalation in the vast, dark seascape beyond. The murk fades in. Rays of light trickle down from far above onto green and gold columns of kelp that rise from the depths and sway back and forth in the current. Fish and mollusks patrol them in groups of hundreds of thousands. The nearest pass you with watchful eyes. The army that destroyed the dwarves, the eyeless, are they yours?
What the world casts aside, I take into my care. A thing may be forgotten, but it is never alone as long as I am here. They were lost children, abandoned, fixed on a purpose that no longer had meaning.
Okay.
I took them in, gave them new purpose. I did not create them, but yes, they are mine.
They're Abaddon's. I saw them forged.
They were his once. I won't deny it. He created them as assistants to carry out his work on Eora. But he has long been the overseer of progress in the world. Leaving things behind has always been his way. I allow him to leave his past in my care, so that it does not hold him back.
You and Abaddon have a unique connection then.
I suppose we do. But then, the gods have always been able to accomplish far greater things when working together.
Fair enough.
Speak your mind.
You haven't given me the whole truth about the eyeless, have you?
Careful what you accuse a god of, mortal.
Abaddon didn't abandon those creatures. You made him forget. Otherwise, he might remember how he died.
And what if I did, mortal? It does him no harm to forget. On the contrary, it lifts a burden. If Abaddon remembered, it would threaten the harmony between the gods. It was not so long ago that conflict between us led to disaster in your world, and the death of one of our number. Memory is but an image we create to make sense of the present. It carries no truth or meaning but what we ascribe. A slight alteration to it is a small price to pay for peace.
Do I push back on that? Yeah, let's push back. This might be a bad choice. It's wrong to deceive him. I expect better from a god.
Memory deceives. It distorts. It reimagines. This is no different. The peace between the gods is already fragile. It will not withstand another shock. You may ask.
What do you mean the Forge is meant to be forgotten?
It was never meant for mortal use. Such power, such truths lie within it. It can bring only ruin. When the Pargrunen came to the White March, they were peaceful. They shared common beliefs and purpose. Their visions for the Forge tore them apart. You have seen this for yourself.
That's a fair assessment.
They would have destroyed themselves in the end.
How convenient that we'll never know.
You need only look to the history of your own civilization for assurance. How many wars, how many fallen empires might have been averted if only their leaders could forget the objects of their ambition. I mourned the loss of the Pargrunen. Misfortune brought them here. They did not deserve to end so soon.
What does it matter if something is remembered or forgotten? It's in the past either case.
Memories are the spirits of the past. You of all people should know their sway on the present, Watcher.
They're ours to bear, whether we care or not.
Mortals measure the worth of their lives in memory. Who will remember me? How long until I am forgotten? Memory governs every thought, informs every choice. It can fuel passion, understanding, love, or it can create obsession, madness. You have seen it plague many souls in your travels. Consider the old Watcher who inherited unspeakable crimes from birth. Or the Glonfathen boy for whom an old medallion was worth more than all the fruits of his labors. Or the former Crucible Knight, whose political embarrassment embittered him against the organization whose ideals he treasured above all. Or the villager whose guilt led him down into a temple in search of the priests he condemned with his silence. They could be free from their burdens, if only they could forget.
Their problems go deeper than memories. Simply forgetting does not make them go away.
For some, perhaps. But for many, the memory is all that remains of it. Even when problems have run their course, memory can be the stone that sinks you into the abyss.
Be that as it may, I must reject your moral paradigm because it endangers an incomplete conception of the good that fails to consider the importance of the testing the soul.
Indeed. And what has led you to conclude you know better than a god, mortal?
Your supposition that peace of mind is tantamount to the overall good is a flawed premise. Empirically, we know that struggle and inner turmoil strengthen the soul and as often as they strangle it. Zawa agrees.
My master could not have said it better.
That hardly sounds like an improvement on inner peace. Is that the extent of your argument?
No, actually. I submit to you that life is a framework to test the soul, and the untested soul withers from disuse. Consequently, it's better to test the soul in order that it should thrive. If it breaks, it's no worse off than if it had not been tested at all.
There may be hope for you yet, Watcher.
Your reasoning is interesting, mortal. Perhaps there is something to it. But it is not my will to simply do good. Those broken souls that fail your test, those are the ones I love most. For no other god will have them. What small mercies they ask of me, I will always grant. Was there something else, mortal?
What are the bones of one god doing sealed in a temple of another?
Do not play coy with a god, Watcher. I know you have seen his death. I feel it whenever a forgotten thing is taken from me. Abidin did not deserve to die here. This place, it was the least I could do to give his remains some privacy.
The least you could do.
The least I could do for ending his life.
Yeah, didn't we already go over that? You were responsible.
I called the moon down to me, Ioni brother. It was against his wishes. He would not listen to reason, would not listen to me.
Oh, yeah?
In his madness, he splintered the moon. But it was not enough. The greatest of the fragments still fell toward that which he would protect. In the end, he took position where it would fall, and absorbed the impact himself.
But why the temple? Why the secrecy?
That time has been forgotten now. And so his death belongs to me. Everything he was before the impact.
But you slew another god. Surely the other gods know this. Surely Abaddon must know. The current surges through the kelp bed, pushing each plant sideways like saplings in a hurricane and propelling you backwards amidst a torrent of wayward fish.
No! He cannot know! He must never know!
Ooh boy.
Understand, he was not always as he is now. His body was not all he left behind. He was devoted to progress and industry from the beginning. But so too was he devoted to preservation. In those times, he would let nothing go. Nothing could be forgotten. His will was iron long before his body.
Preservation. So that was why he went so far to oppose you.
We agreed long ago, all of us, not to alter the course of Kith's civilization. Not directly. Not unless there were no other choice.
Well, that hasn't rang true at all. They've definitely intervened.
But in this matter, there was no other choice. He understood that as well as anyone. It was for duty that he opposed it. I would have stopped it if I could, but by then it was too late.
What was it that he was trying to preserve?
Time has finished much of what I started. I cannot tell you that, mortal, for fear of undoing all its costly work.
You make it sound as if though you were the sane one.
The other gods knew what had to be done, but they lacked the will to go through with it. Even gods have their attachments. To erase all knowledge of such a grand thing required unthinkable devastation. The Eastern Reach, Deadfire. Mine was the only solution. When I called down Ioni brother, they remained silent. Even Abaddon. He knew it was for the best. But he tried to stop it all the same. Perhaps deep down I knew he would. I should have expected it. I could have stopped it.
Good boy.
You may ask.
You say on the one hand you call down Eden Brothar, and yet on the other you would have stopped it for Abaddon?
The death of a god is a calamity. You are living in the aftermath of one such death. Surely you can understand.
You said you have sympathy. You said that sympathy can't get in the way. What about yours for Abaddon?
He deserved better. Of all the other gods, he was the only one who acted, who held to his convictions.
The goddess of relentlessness must have appreciated such a quality.
Yes. I admired him for that.
But it's more than that. You loved him, didn't you? The pull and push of the current becomes long and heavy like a sigh.
Whatever he was to me, it was not meant to last. Always our duty is to Eora first. I knew he opposed what I intended. That he would wish to preserve what I meant to destroy. I knew it would cause a rift that might never be mended. But I never imagined he'd go so far. I never imagined it would mean I would never know him, as I once did.
If he doesn't remember dying, why not begin again with him?
Because it might cause him to remember. No, mortal. Better that we should exist as we are now. What happened once must never happen again. Bad enough that I am cursed to remember it. You may ask.
Yeah, let's exhaust your dialogue. How often do you get to pick a god's brain? Why did you pull down Enon Brother?
The great conundrum of a god is how close to become with your subjects. Too far and they lose hope. Too close and your own judgment fails. Civilizations are meant to ebb and flow. Allow them to persist for too long in power or knowledge, and you invite catastrophe. There was a time when we let our sympathies get the better of us. When memories were allowed to persist that should have been washed away. The other gods could not be moved to act. I did what had to be done without them.
You're talking about the Ingwethans?
I speak of what is forgotten. I failed that day, but my purpose was achieved in the end. I will not dredge up the memory to satisfy idle curiosity.
Aw, man. Well, in that case, I need you to call up the eyeless.
On the contrary, mortal, their work must continue. Far too much was uncovered while they lay dormant.
They draw attention to the very thing you wish hidden. In my dreams, I have seen them swarming all over the Direwood.
Those who know too much of the White Forge will be washed clean from Aora, and then the eyeless shall rest once more.
This isn't some lone tribe of dwarves. The Forge sees visitors from all over now. The eyeless will tear the Direwood apart and it will never be forgotten. This sea life around you stirs back and forth, agitated and restless.
Even if it is as you say, there is nothing that can be done. The eyeless do not think for themselves. They have only the purpose that is given to them. They do not stop until the purpose is fulfilled. They will not change course now for me or anyone. I am sorry.
Kato said they can be called off.
Only if those they pursue are no longer a threat. The Raid Sarens were stopped before they could take the White Forge. In your case, Watcher, you are well beyond that now. And if what you say is true, then the Deerwood is as well.
This is your doing. You must intervene.
The interventions of gods seldom work out in anyone's favor. Our touch is too heavy. The world crumbles beneath it.
Then why'd you intervene in the first place?
It is why we so often enlist the help of mortals. They execute our wishes with greater care. I have done far too much already.
Alright, if you don't stop them, I will.
Your determination is commendable. But the eyeless number in the thousands. You will need more than strength or luck.
Yeah, this is your mess. You better have something to offer.
I will give you what aid I can. I bade the eyeless to remain hidden when at rest. They are gathered in the hollow of a great rock, splintered from Eoni Brother. It lies in a flooded crater known as Kairin's Scar.
Okay.
Know, too, that they were built to answer the call of their master's hammer. When they hear it strike, they come to its aid. If you were to take that piece of his hammer from here and reshape it in Abaddon's forge into a likeness of the original, you might be able to call them to you. But destroying them would be another matter.
Okay.
I know of one way, but only from the center of the Lion's Den. Only with their master's hammer in your service. If you can do all this, if you can reshape what remains of Abaddon's hammer and bring it inside their lair, I can instruct you there on what you would need to do.
It'd be easier if you just told me now.
Nothing I say will make sense until you see it for yourself, mortal. We share a common purpose now. I will see you through it when the time comes.
Alright, I guess I'll go remake the hammer in the White Forge. Let's try to stop the eyeless.
If you do not, be assured, they will come for you as they did for the Pargrunen. Careful as you approach the lake. When I claimed the eyeless, I made sure they would not be discovered while they slept.
Okay.
Many of my most devoted followers stand watch there. They will not allow you near. And there is something far worse. Something more fearsome and dangerous than any eyeless. Let us hope you do not attract its attention.
You want to elaborate on that? In place of an answer, a sudden surge of current beneath sends you hurling upward. The surface. The surface above approaches you fast, shifting and glimmering like quicksilver. You emerge soaking wet on the stone floor of the rectally, gasping for breath as if you've been holding it for hours. Well, that was not helpful. All right, so we got something in the stronghold. Okay. So we need to go back to the White Forge and make the hammer. What is this door here? I don't want to see what this other stuff is. So we got access to a couple paths up here. This goes into the Abbey, but oh, this is just like a shortcut, I guess. So you don't have to go all the way back around. That makes sense. Game design wise, that makes sense. All right, what do we got up here? That leads to the outskirts of the Abyss. What would you like to do? Travel directly to the Foundry. We're going to continue exploring. Okay, so that's another way to quickly exit the map. And what is this over here? Where does this go? Okay, this is back inside. This is like a hidden room. Okay. Let's see. Anything worth taking here? Really, guys? Journal of the High Abbot. Nothing super interesting there. We'll go ahead and take that. Take all that stuff. Take all that stuff. We have a door here. And yeah, it just kind of loops around. Okay. All right, then. I guess we'll travel straight to the forge. Oh, Eder leveled up. Let's get that. All right, what do we got here? Got 6 points. Athletics and survival are kind of the only things that matter for him. Can't afford either of those, so we'll just carry our points over, I think. I don't see stealth, lore, or mechanics really being of any benefit to him. So then, what fighter ability do we want? Plus 20 defense for 15 seconds. That's not bad. None of these do saber, right? Yeah. We're not going to do any of those. 50% of damage converted into healing. That might be a good one to get. We get 3 per rest on that. Accuracy. Critical defense would be a good one for him too. 20% of incoming crits get converted to hits. 10% of hits get converted to grazes, make him a little more tanky. A self-revive would be pretty good. But you have to be like almost dead and then cast it. That's going to be a tricky one to actually pull off. Requires endurance below 1%. Or is that an automatic thing? Fighter refuses to be vanquished after being knocked out. The fighter say, I think you have to cast that. I think that's how that's going to work. Friendly aura, 50% of damage taken is redirected to caster as raw damage. I don't know about that. That's pretty good. 2 per encounter. 64 to 83 crush damage. I kind of like that. I kind of, yeah, let's do this charge. Let's do that. Maybe next level for him we can get the defense buff. We'll travel directly to the foundry in Durgan's battery. And then I think we're going to have to forge this hammer next time. Thank you all so very much for watching, and have a good one.